Hello, hello.
Hey, hey.
Good to see you again, stranger.
Yeah. I'm still wiped out from yesterday. That's quite the meeting. I was encouraged though, there weren't as many people as I was expecting, but on the other hand, it was a good group of people. So that was good. And I know that just a handful of committed people can make a lot of difference. So
Mickey, I'm sorry I missed the meeting.
yeah, too bad. Yeah, you're a little bit consumed by everything else going on, huh?
Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we, James, maybe give it a couple of minutes, see if we get our quorum.
Yep, I think we are 1, 2, 3.
There's
we need
Melinda.
one more. 4, there we go.
All right. So let's just give it 1 minute and then we'll start the meeting.
Sounds good. Just a heads up to everyone, we are recording tonight's meeting.
All right, we should get started. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Lang, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the January 13th meeting of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council. This is an advisory body to the Board of Supervisors of Contra Costa County. And so what I'd like to do first is, before anything else, welcome our brand new member of the board, Emily Whelan. Hi, Emily. My name's Tom. Maybe we can go down the list and introduce ourselves to you. Well, first, why don't you tell us something about yourself?
Hey, everybody. Nice to meet you guys. I'm new to El Sobrante. I bought a house out here about a year and a half ago from New Orleans. Born originally in California, but lived in New Orleans for the past 15 years. I come from a performing arts background, and here in the Bay, yeah, oh cool, Melinda, you too? Woo, you got the dance. So I work with an opera company that's in Berkeley and Oakland called West Edge Opera, and we do a lot of new opera works, and we do some reimagined classics. And I also work with a theater company in Oakland called Ubuntu Theater Project, though it has just renamed itself to Oakland Theater Project. And when I was in New Orleans, I ran a theater company and the Fringe Theater Festival out there. The Fringe is something that has its main hub in Scotland, and then New York City picked it up, and then a bunch of American cities picked it up. We're doing performance in found spaces and also working a lot with community partners to turn it into a grassroots affair. So I come with that background. And when I was in New Orleans, the big thing out there is neighborhood councils. And I lived in a neighborhood called the Marigny, and I was a part of that neighborhood council. And yeah, excited to be here and meet you all.
Well, thank you so much for getting involved with your community, despite all the stress with being newly moved in. And so we're grateful to have you on the board. And I think you'll bring a great perspective, so welcome.
Glad to be here.
Okay. So I guess we can just start off with our roll call. You want to go ahead with that, James?
Yep, sounds good. Tom Lang.
Here.
Tom Owens.
Here.
Jim Herman. Okay. Dr. McLean.
I'm here.
Joe Serapicillo. Joe emailed me that he might not be able to make it tonight. He's got the kids tonight. Mickey Norris.
Over here.
George Cleveland.
Unlike last month when I completely forgot the meeting, I am here today.
Thank you. And Shirley Rosenthal. Miss Shirley said that she might not be able to make it. She does some tutoring over at El Sobrante Christian. So she said she'd come if she could. And then Emily Whelan.
Here.
All right. We're good to go. We have a quorum.
Okay, excellent. So I'd like to see if we could approve the minutes for the October 14th, November 18th, and December 9th meetings. I'm happy to approve all three. I was present at them. And let's see if we can, Melinda approves.
I'll make a motion to accept all three as presented.
Okay, I second that motion.
Okay, Tom. Oh, and everybody on the, George, I see you with your hand up.
Yeah, if you could correct the December minutes, because it shows I was there and I most definitely was not.
Oops.
So the motion with George's amendment for me to fix myself.
Well, that sounds like a real personal issue there, James. I don't know about that.
Appreciate it. So Tom Lang, do you, well, actually Tom Owens, it's probably better to restate your motion with George's amendment.
Okay, I move that we accept the 3 minutes as presented with the change suggested by George Cleveland for the December minutes.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor, aye, or wave your hand?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good to go. Motion passes, the minutes are approved.
Okay. James, treasurer's report.
$3,000.
$3,000. Okay, so now we usually have the presentation by the Lieutenant Buford of the Bay Station Sheriff's Office. I'm not sure if Lieutenant Buford is on. It doesn't seem like it.
He's not. Sergeant Rude was supposed to attend in his place, but I don't see Sergeant Rude on, and there's no one waiting to be led into the meeting. So
Officer Leviste from the CHP is here. So I suggest we start with his presentation. Welcome, Officer Leviste.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. From the Highway Patrol's side, nothing's really changed. The speed on San Pablo Dam Road is what I've primarily been focusing my attention on. There are several stop signs that I've been also frequenting, namely Hilltop and Renfrew and Hilltop and Marin up there, which I've found to be very, very productive on my part. At the last MAC meeting, we discussed, what was it? The parking of the RVs, specifically around the area of Castro Ranch, Dam Road and Castro Ranch, at that parking lot there. We weren't sure at the last month whether or not that was private property or county property. I went out there and there are some signs out there, and it leads me to believe that it is county property. But every time I've gone out there, I haven't had any or haven't seen any RVs parked out that way for an extended period of time. There was one RV parked on Alhambra Valley towards the end of Castro Ranch. I went out there and tagged it, and I believe the Sheriff Department's vehicle abatement team went out there and took care of that, because I went out there this evening and it's already gone. There was some concern about big rigs parking on Dam Road down by Del Val and La Honda area. Unfortunately, where they are parking, it's totally legal, and I believe those rigs must be owner operators, so they don't stay there for an extended period of time. they're usually there for maybe the day, and then they're gone, or they're moved. They do come back every so often, but they're legally parked. So there's not much I can do with those. When it comes to the RV parking, which we discussed last month, I am having a little bit of a hardship getting rid of some of those RVs, only because they're not typical vehicles. They incorporate a hazmat. There is a hazmat issue, so they have to take proper precautions, where the tow companies won't take it because of the hazmat. So it literally has to be dismantled at the scene and disposed of properly. Which I've been working with the sheriff's abatement team, and they've been successful taking care of that. It does cost some money, and I believe the county does have some money specifically for such instances. So if there's any RVs that anybody's aware of, please let me know, and I can forward that to the abatement team, and they can take care of it from their end. Other than that, I'm open to any questions if anybody has any.
Okay, so we'll start just quickly from the board and then to the audience at large. I just have one question. Have you noticed an uptick in street racing on the freeways, maybe in the last month or so?
Yeah, it actually started when the whole COVID thing kind of blew up. The events where the sideshows were happening, how do I put this? It started off in the East Coast, where they called it was essentially like a mob mentality, where hundreds upon hundreds of cars would descend upon certain areas. And it got to the point where Highway Patrol would send their resources, the Sheriff's Department would send their resources, local police would send their resources, but we were so far outnumbered that there was almost nothing we could do but watch it happen. It got to the point where our helicopters and our airplanes were going out there, and they were shooting fireworks at us. So it's a well-known problem on our end. We are making some leeway on that problem. The Highway Patrol has allotted a substantial budget towards our air ops, that meaning our helicopters and our airplanes. Those resources are invaluable dealing with these street racers and the sideshows, only because if you leave it to the beat cops that are out there on the road, we'll try to stop them. 99% of the time they run from us, and then they crash, and then it becomes a bigger hazard just trying to stop them. So what we've been doing is we're using our air ops resource to sort of get eyes on the biggest offenders, and then we'll just kind of follow them till they get home or to a place where they park, and then we take care of them at that point. An issue that we were dealing with, and we're kind of dealing with still, he's a known personality amongst the sideshow and street racer groups, and he's been posting his videos online on YouTube. I think we discussed this last month, actually. Yeah. We were successful in tracking him down and actually impounding his vehicle. But now we're seeing that we impounded his vehicle, but he appealed to his viewers to pay for his impound fees. So in essence, his car was gone for 30 days, but his followers ended up paying the tow fee, which was kind of ironic. But he's still on our radar. We're still keeping an eye on him. We're still watching his videos and making sure he's being held responsible for his actions. So yeah, it's an ongoing problem, but we are starting to make some headway and dealing with them and their actions.
Okay, thank you so much. And I believe Mickey has a question for you.
And then George, and then Tom after Mickey.
Yeah, I live near La Honda and San Pablo Dam Road. And when I see the big rigs parked along the side on I guess the north side, so it really does obstruct our view trying to make a left turn onto San Pablo Dam Road. So is that considered legally parked? No, it's obstructing.
Where they're parked is legal. Now, the fact that they obstruct the roadway, as long as they're not blocking La Honda itself, there is no recourse from the vehicle code side of things. Now, it's funny that you bring this up. I'm dealing with a similar issue down in South County where an intersection is obstructed by vehicles that are parked on the shoulder there. What I've done with over there at that location was I'm getting together with the county's traffic safety person, and we're looking at seeing if we can block or mark off a portion of the shoulder there so that vehicles can't park so close to the intersection, so that it extends the line of sight there, especially through that area, because La Honda, it's that big sweeping curve, and cars are moving coming around that corner. So what I'll do is I'll talk to them about that specific area around La Honda and see if we can do a similar thing in that area as well. So I'll make a note of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. George?
Okay, Officer Leviste, thank you very much for all the work that you are doing on Dam Road. I have a request as well. My hand is not lowering, that's another issue. Is it possible that the CHP, in coordinating with the Richmond Police Department, do a little bit of enforcement on Hilltop Drive?
On Hilltop Drive? Yeah, so is there anything specific or specific areas? I've been out there and working the stop signs, namely Renfrew and Marin. Is there anything particular you want me to look for? Just the speed? Okay.
Speeding, because people get off of the freeway or they come over the freeway from wherever they are. And, once you get off the freeway, once you get past the Memorial Park entrance, the speed limit is 25. Nobody is driving 25. Well, okay. I try, so can't say, well, almost nobody.
Yeah.
Driving. And the reason I asked for coordination with Richmond Police Department is because until you get past the little mini mart and the gas station, that side, I will call it the north side of Hilltop Drive, that's actually in the city of Richmond. So that's why I was asking for that. But people actually speed coming from El Sobrante going towards the freeway, which would mean they're going westbound on Hilltop Drive, and they speed. Mm-hmm. And the concern about it coming eastbound from the freeway is because the way the road slopes, you have an obstructed view just because of the way the road is designed. So it's always a challenge when I'm getting onto Hilltop Drive, because I live off of it, just to make sure that, I poke the car a little bit because I think it's there, and then nope, suddenly there's this car zipping up the incline, and I say, oh, well, I'm not in the mood to get T-boned today, so I think I'll just have to wait. But people drive too fast. The other problem with that, and James is aware of this, is that there are two speed limit signs. One, as you go up the incline, going away from the freeway before you get to the Memorial Park entrance. And then there's one at the corner of Alhambra and Hilltop Drive. There is a tree that belongs to the property on that corner, and the branches obstruct the speed limit sign. And James has tried repeatedly to get these people, would you please trim that so people can see, and they just won't do it. So just, it's a hazard because they don't pay attention to the first sign. And about the first sign, you can't see it at night. Right. It does because of where it's located. So if you're driving at night, you can't see one speed limit sign and the other one is obstructed. So people are driving faster than they should because they actually probably don't know any better. But still, it's a problem. And I would ask that the CHP devote a little bit of energy to enforcement a little bit. Because
yeah, sure. I appreciate the request. I'll definitely try to make it out there when I can, especially since I'm out there with the stop signs as well. The speed, I'm sure, is something I can do something about also.
I will say, just on guesstimate from things that I've observed, there are people who are the 25 mile per hour posted speed limit. There are people who are doing more than twice that speed limit. So not only is this a speeding ticket, what is it, driving to endanger? What is it when it's like ridiculously over the speed limit? There's a phrase.
Like a reckless endangerment.
That's the one, yeah. So that's something that people could be hit with, and so I just want to put that out there. And
okay, yeah, sure. I'll be happy to go out there and monitor the speed. It's something I'll also have to probably do some homework and find out is whether or not the speed survey for that section of Hilltop is still current. And I'm making it. I have to find out if it's okay for me to use to enforce that speed limit. But I'll take care of it. I'll go out there and I'll check it out.
I want to let you know that I've lived in the area for 17 years. And for 17 years, that speed limit has been 25. So just say, and again, also thank you, of course, for all the work that you do for us. We appreciate you greatly.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe Tom Owens had a question.
Yes, I do. And I wanted to thank you for working the Hilltop region for a change. That's really nice. And my question is probably more for the sheriff, but since you're already in the Hilltop and Marin area,
sure.
We've got a new hauling company that has moved in to the storage area of Manor Market, which is Hilltop and Manor. And they were caught trying to unload a thing at the corner. And I was wondering if you could just keep an eye on it. And I know that it's not your responsibility. And I sent something to James.
No, yeah, I can definitely check it out. So it's a hauling company over at the corner.
It's Simplify Hauling. They put up a fence in half the parking lot of Manor Market, and they moved into the storage area since Manor Market closed.
Was it something specific that they dropped there, or you're just seeing?
They were dismantling mattresses at the time.
Ah, gotcha.
And the guy that was doing the work claimed he didn't speak English. But when the police officer arrived, he was able to communicate.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Yeah,
and all the material disappeared real quick.
Yeah, I bet. No, I'll go check it out, and I can also share that information with my deputy counterparts as well.
Oh, okay, appreciate that.
And Tom, I got your email, Tom. So I'll also be sending that along to code enforcement, and also to the sheriff as well. We definitely don't need that popping up in the neighborhood.
No, we have enough problems up there.
No doubt.
Okay, are there any questions for Officer Leviste from the floor? Okay, any more questions from the board? In that case, Officer Leviste, thank you so much for everything that you do to protect us, to enhance our security here, keep our roads safe, and all the best to you, and hope to see you next month.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Good night. So we don't have...
I was told the other two presenters were going to be here. So
yeah.
I honestly don't have anything to offer anybody as I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I suggest is maybe we do you have a report, James, from Supervisor Joya's office?
Very, nothing new. ICU bed capacity is way down. Continue to wear your mask, continue to wash your hands. Everything in and out of our office right now is pretty much about COVID-19. The vaccines are inbound, and the county and the state kind of have two, they are separate because it's county and state, but they're two sort of different approaches. But just keep your eye out, keep your ears open for more information coming about the vaccine for those that, plan to take it. About a week and a half ago, I was saying that I was going to wait till the summer. And then I saw one of those commercials where the young lady talks about losing her grandmother, and I'm going to get the vaccine as soon as it's available. We don't really have an ETA on that. And the county is also working, figuring out a system to distribute them to senior care facilities and things like that. Folks that are, I think, 75 and older can get it right now, but keep an eye out for that information as it rolls out. Once the health department has a press release about it, I will be sending that to the distribution list. And then Mickey, I'm sure we'll talk about this a little later, but if you're seeing illegal dumping, please continue to report it. for the first couple of months of the pandemic, I didn't have any illegal dumping complaints. And the last several months, it's returned to pre-pandemic. You know, the situation has turned to what it was before the pandemic, and illegal dumping has increased. It's not quite what it was before, but it's certainly on the rise. So that is something that we'll all have to kind of keep our eye out for. Yeah, and definitely if folks have questions. So Tom first, and then Melinda. Any questions?
So Melinda raised her hand first. So
okay.
Oh, well, thanks, Tom. I just wanted to know, James, if any of that overflow hospital you all built at the old Ford plant is being used.
Thankfully, not as of yet. But it is definitely still there down at the Ford plant. There, I think, are 250 beds as an ICU overflow. We have not had to activate it that I'm aware of, but it is still available. Yeah.
And I have a follow-up question. I have folks in my community who are retired medical personnel who are wondering if there are ways in which they can come help give injections once we get some mass vaccination going on. They know that they're not able to go serve, you know, long shifts in a hospital, but boy, could they go give some vaccinations, and they'd like to be able to.
So give me just a second to go onto my Facebook page. The Health Services Department put out a flyer. They are hiring temporary positions in vaccination at clinics. They are hiring. This was something.
If you can put that in the chat, that would be great. I would pass that out into my networks. I don't know that I think a lot of these people would be quite willing to volunteer, but you know, if they have to be hired for insurance purposes, I'm sure they'd take a nominal fee and donate it back. But I do have folks who I know, because the moderator of my congregation is a contact tracer for the county. He's going to be part of the mass vaccination things that they have planned. And what I do know is that he was like, I'm happy to do paperwork, but I'm not doing injections. And I know lots of other people would be quite happy to do the injections. And we need all of it. We need all hands on deck. Anybody who can give a shot needs to do it.
So I'll definitely follow up with Health Services and find out if there are opportunities for folks to volunteer. In the chat, you will see the link to the job announcement, the temporary job announcement. So if you know anyone,
and I'll give it to them for that too, because they might be willing to do that. They
and
just
look,
want to reactivate, but
that pay range says $14 to $36 an hour. So I mean,
hey,
if you're willing to volunteer, you know, and the county's willing to pay you a couple bucks for it.
Well, I think everyone I know who has medical training is looking at what's happening in the hospitals and the ICUs and trying to figure out how they can help without necessarily going back to full-time work, which they're not willing to do. But this might be exactly the way that they can come help.
That's a great question. I will definitely ask and find out. Definitely.
So I've got just a couple of points.
And then after Tom Owens was after Melinda, and then we'll come to you, Tom Lang, and then to George Cleveland.
I got mixed up as to which Tom.
No problem, my bad.
Just call me Thomas.
Okay, I could do that.
Yeah, James, Governor Newsom changed the priority list today, the 65 and under, and I was wondering if you have any indication when the county will follow through on that.
So the county is working on a plan. I saw it in the email a couple of hours ago. Right now, the county's at 75. The state is at 65, but the county is looking at adjusting that age.
Okay, and they'll update the webpage for making reservations for vaccinations?
There is a way to do it online. Let me see if
At this point in time, it's still 75 plus.
Yeah, it'll be like that with the county for a little while longer. I'm not exactly sure when they're going to change it, but the email that I was included in said that the county is looking at that because it's better if we match what the state is doing, so there's a little less confusion. So when we can align the county and state guidelines, the Health Services Department is definitely trying to do that, so it eliminates confusion.
Okay, so when that happens, will you send it out to the list?
Absolutely.
No, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, Thomas?
Yep, and then George, and then Thomas.
Oh.
George has his hand up.
Okay. I would like to put out there that's something that the health folks should be potentially aware of. I think that there's going to be another surge, perhaps a mini surge, and I think it's going to happen in mid-February. And the reason I say that is because of the Super Bowl on February 7th, which is when everybody likes to party because it's the Super Bowl. So I think that should be out there. I don't think people are thinking about it or talking about it, but I think it could happen. So tell people to be aware, because people still want to, after being this close to a year, almost a year, people are exhausted by this and they want to connect with people. And what better way than to watch a football game in close contact and have plenty to drink and mask? What mask? So just if that could be maybe put out there to the county health department, just as a thought, to be on the lookout for it. That's all.
I will definitely suggest that they've released information around all the other major holidays, but the Super Bowl may not be one that they gave consideration to. So I definitely will mention that. That's a really good idea. Mr. Lang.
Okay. Yeah, so just a couple of points.
Please.
And the first point is that even as the vaccinations kick in, we all have to continue wearing masks and, practicing social distancing, until those numbers come down. And, we hope that really there will be mass vaccinations by the spring or summer, and then maybe you would expect the numbers to decline. But really, until they do, and it's down at the level kind of a regular flu, we'll probably be expected to wear masks. And just as sort of representatives of the county through the ESMAC, we should be encouraging people to do that. And then the other thing is, I was thinking maybe not for this agenda or even the next, but perhaps for the April agenda, we should have the county health officer come in and give us a really sort of nice, detailed presentation on how things are going with vaccinations.
Good to go.
But I suspect that, we won't really get a great volume of data to report on, until April, would be my guess.
Yeah.
So those are just my only 2 points.
Okay.
And then I was thinking I sent you an email. I won't identify who sent it, but this was a person who lives near fronting San Pablo Creek. And he was concerned because there were a lot of homeless people sort of cutting through his yard and causing issues. So
I am aware. I'm not called him back yet. I've not heard back from the county staff on that. I don't know what we're going to do just yet, but I will call him tomorrow.
Oh, wonderful. I mean, I think even if you don't have a definitive answer, it seems like he would be happy to know that you're waiting to hear back on it.
Will do.
He seemed quite anxious.
For everyone's benefit, or just if you're curious, homeless encampments throughout the country, but as it relates to Contra Costa County and West County in particular, the CDC gave guidelines back in March of last year, telling counties you can't break up homeless encampments. Otherwise, there would be some sort of penalty. So it forced the county to look at the encampments, and just kind of make judgment calls. So as encampments have become dangerous, some of them have been broken up. But in order to help decrease the spread of COVID, they've been left intact. And many places throughout the country, folks have just sort of turned kind of a blind eye to them. That is not the case here. We are aware of the encampments, and having them abated is a challenge. But we are definitely aware of, and the encampment that you're talking about, for anyone, if you've made the right turn off of San Pablo Dam Road onto El Portal, where there used to be a Shell gas station. They're currently remodeling a gas station right there. You make the right turn onto El Portal, and as you drive around, you pass the preschool, the Montessori school there on the left, and then right beyond that crosswalk, you'll notice an iron bar fence or just maybe a chain link fence and a bunch of overgrown brush. So down there is a homeless encampment that has been there off and on, at least for the many years that I've worked here, but most likely longer than that. And one of the issues with that particular encampment was it was either Lieutenant Trish England or Lieutenant Moreland several years ago that mentioned there were booby traps down there and that no one should go down there without a police escort. In fact, the Homeless Services Department won't go down there without a police escort. Most of our encampments are not dangerous that way. You know, you may have someone yell at you or some sort of interaction like that, but never anything where there might be harm done to you. So that presents a number of issues that have not been solved. The encampment is still there. I know that it has been cleaned out at least once, but the homeowners that live on the creek there and the church parking, you know, their property lines sort of define that area.
And that was the problem, because there was the belief that the property line where the homeless one belonged to the county. And then it turned out that the property lines actually belong to the residents. So, I mean, the homeless are congregating on what was thought to be county property is actually the residents' property, even though it goes down to the creek and they really can't use it.
Right.
So that was an issue several years ago that probably, you know, because the homeowner's like, well, it's not our problem. And then suddenly it's like, yeah, it is. Yeah. And which is unfortunate and unfair. So
that's the largest issue. If you live on a creek, your property line extends to the center of the creek, unless told otherwise. And that was a lot of the concern that the residents that lived down there had. They didn't know. And Deputy, I'm forgetting her name. It was either Foster and is now Jackson, or it's Jackson and now Foster. At one time, it's Foster now.
So it was then, so maybe it's Jackson now. So.
She's been married. I can't remember. First name is Amy.
Yeah. She's Deputy Jackson.
Deputy Jackson. Okay, she was Foster and is now Jackson. Thank you. She took it upon herself to contact the property owners down there and no trespassing for the property back there. The problem with that is you can have it in place, but once the folks get built in, you know, down in the creek like that, it becomes much more difficult to, quote, evict them, which is what you have to do at that point. And that costs, you know, homeowners money and things of that nature. But Thomas, I'm definitely going to give him a call, and we will have to come up with a plan for that. And we're still working on a plan to address the homeless encampment that's underneath the Appian Way Bridge. The folks that live down in that area, for two of the folks that have my cell phone have called me in the middle of the night. James, we're seeing flames come up from down there. So, you know, just kind of an FYI for everyone. There are encampments down there. Supervisor Joy of Public Works and I, we went down there, and we are working towards finding some kind of a solution. We can't displace the folks with nowhere to go.
Right.
And then that, you know, leads into there aren't beds available, and the beds that are available have strict age requirements and health requirements. So you kind of have to be sick, or you have to be 65 or 70 and older. So it's challenging to find, you know, there is no one solution. And what do we do? You know, these folks, you know, they deserve to have a place to live, and finding a place for them to go, a place for their belongings is all part of what is making the challenges of addressing our homeless encampments really tough right now.
Yeah, and it might be good. I know Supervisor Joya has been involved in this really nice work to find housing for the homeless people, more permanent housing. So maybe that would be a good agenda item to have an update on that program.
Yep. So right now there is no permanent housing right now. The hotels were thought, and Emily, I see your hand. We're gonna come right to you. The county was at one point considering purchasing the Marriott for permanent housing, but I won't say fell through, but I'll say it's no longer part of the discussion. And then, you know, for other reasons, you know, the folks that live in the city of Richmond, we'd have to talk to them. And it was kind of expressed that folks were not thrilled about that idea. So we'll see what becomes of that. But I'm fairly certain the county did purchase a hotel in Pittsburgh. So the CARES funding that we've received has gone to really good use. LaVonna Martin is quite a dynamic department head, and she has made the best use of the money that has come our way in terms of housing folks and purchasing where possible permanent housing for the county's homeless. So
thank you, James. Emily?
Yeah, I was just curious as someone new to all this, what, like in the past 10 years maybe, what have been successful moments of either working with a partnership organization or services that are here in El Sobrante, working with the homeless to get them into a safe space? What have been successful moments?
So the county has a core team as part of the homeless outreach program. Do not ask me what core stands for. I think it's an acronym, but I don't recall right now. And the most success we've had is from the core team going out regularly and going to the encampments, offering services. You know, 90% of the folks say, no, we're not going anywhere. We're staying right here. But for those that want to transition from where they are into, at the times it was shelters, job programs, sometimes there are substance abuse issues that come up. There are mental health concerns. All of those services are made available. And this is, you know, once a month for several years. When there have been successes, when there have been folks that have said yes, it is a direct correlation to our core out team folks making contact repeatedly, making folks feel comfortable. This is a safe space. We know you may not like all of the rules. You know, you can't have pets, there can't be drinking and things like that. So any of our successes are almost 100% directly related to the core team, making efforts to visit the encampments more than one time and building personal relationships with the individuals out there. But as far as any other organization, go ahead.
Is the core team a nonprofit that's based in El Sobrante, or what is it?
It's part of the county's health, housing, and homeless services department.
Got it.
So these are paid positions that folks, they go out West County, Central, East County, wherever there's unincorporated and within the city space, they will go out. They will go out. Melinda?
And Emily, I'll just tack on that the Contra Costa Interfaith Council does a lot of different things in between the Greater Richmond Interfaith Program, which is called GRIP. There's also a feeding program at the temple here in El Sobrante, and then some pretty robust services over in East County, where they're doing a lot of different things, including at least one of my colleagues has been for a lot of homeless people who are in their cars. They've done this whole parking lot thing where they're able to use facilities inside the church and then they're living in their cars. And so they're, you know, it's not nearly what it ought to be and it's not nearly what we need, but there are folks doing stuff. I will say, since you're kind of new to El Sobrante, that El Sobrante is so centrally located, but not really a place. I mean, we're not really like a thing, that there aren't a lot of services directly being provided in our community.
Right.
And so, you know, we rely on the county and we rely on county groups, and Richmond groups do some things here, but we are kind of in this weird area where if we didn't have James, we get nothing done.
Appreciate that.
I mean, no, it's dead serious. I mean, James and Supervisor Joy's office is kind of all we really have to call. And they work really hard to do what they can do. And then there are things they can and can't do. But welcome to El Sobrante. We're neither here nor there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I often think with these things. I often think with these things that it's it's valuable to think about the things that have worked and how to give more attention and resources to that than like coming up with things out of air. Yeah. But that if there's things that have worked, how we can give more support, visibility, attention towards.
There are resources around. The thing will be, you know, getting through the pandemic and then being able to extend them better into El Sobrante. Yeah. That's a thing. To be able, so it isn't just James and Supervisor Joya. Yeah. And I'm not sure what the answer is to that, although we have some ideas, and I'll say more about that later.
And one of the things to think about, and it's odd to think, you know, the money that we've gotten right now has only come about because of COVID. The additional money for the hotel in Pittsburgh and, you know, the Marriott over here. If there were, you know, if it had not been for COVID, it would have, folks would still be in the shelters with kind of limited space. And, you know, we're at a limited space now, but it's a hotel full of people. So just something to consider. The funding that we're getting, unless there's another round of funding after what has already been promised and allocated, which I'm not even sure has even reached the county yet. You know, these are kind of the last of the funds for it. And then we sort of return to, you know, year by year budgets and prioritization of those funds. Yeah.
We have to fight for everything. It was posted in the chat, hence the leftovers, because that's what El Sobrante means in Spanish. It means the leftovers. And it goes back to when all the land plots were divvied up and this slice of land kind of got forgotten. And hence
that's how I knew I liked it. I heard that story when I was buying the house, and something about coming from Louisiana, I was like, I see this, I like it.
Yep. So it's an interesting community, you know, to let you know, Emily, there's about 13,000 of us. And there's a lot of confusion sometimes over who lives where. I belonged to a community group, and someone joined the group and said, you know, I thought I lived in El Sobrante, but I actually live in Richmond. And we get that. The person lives in Richmond, Carriage Hills. But, you know, so the way to tell that you're in El Sobrante is, my thing is looking at the street signs. If the street sign is white and has black lettering, that's county, it's unincorporated, that's El Sobrante. If it's green and white, that's Richmond.
Well, and the street lights are an even better way to tell. If there are street lights, you're probably in Richmond. If you don't have street lights, you're probably in El Sobrante.
Now, I take a little bit of umbrage with that. I mean, yes. Yeah. Yes and no. I thought you were going to say the sidewalk. I thought you were going to say sidewalks. I'm like, well, okay, sidewalks are a little bit better.
Street lights.
Okay. So what I'm thinking is,
sorry.
It might be a good idea to move on to our next items. And there are no applications for development plans or variance reports, modification requests, etc. So I think this might be a good time to move on to public comment, 2 minutes per speaker. And James, why don't you go and recognize people as they come on?
Will do. Is there anyone with public comment? Wave or looks like we're good to go.
Okay, if there's no public comment, the next item on the agenda are information reports. And at the risk of putting Mickey on the spot, we had a meeting of the subcommittee for illegal dumping. And then we'll get to you, Melinda. Is there anything?
We do have a section for subcommittee. We do have the next section after information items is committee reports.
All right.
Okay. In case someone
Melinda, you had an information report?
Yeah, just very quickly, I wanted to let you all know that we still don't have a building permit for the Good Table. Although everything is in at the county, and I haven't gotten to the point where I have to call James and Supervisor Joya to see if we can move things along, but we are still waiting for our building permit. And in the meantime, you may have noticed we now have a storage container at the site. That's where we're going to lock up tools, and we are very close to getting temporary power. But just to give you an idea of how complicated these things get, once we finally got the temporary power pole permit, the guy came out, inspected it, gave us the thing, but didn't put the sticker on it. So then we had to chase him down for the sticker. And then PG&E was supposed to come out and turn on the power, but they had a COVID outbreak in their crew. So they had to get a subcontractor, and the subcontractor had to be trained. So we still don't have power. But it's, you know, that's just kind of how these things go. And then the last thing in the chat, I posted a link to, we just had a really good article in the East Bay Times. It's not completely accurate, but it's very positive, and love for you all to take a look at it and see what we're up to. And I will certainly send up fireworks and I don't know what else when we finally get our building permit. That's
so, Melinda, would you mind sending that link out in an email as well?
Sure. You can also, if you just do El Sobrante Cafe East Bay Times, you'll find it. You can Google that too in the meantime, but I can also send that link via email.
Okay, do any of our other MAC members have it? Thank you, Melinda, very much for updating us on the progress of the good table. Any other information reports by MAC members? In that case, we'll move on to Ms. Norris and the subcommittee report on illegal dumping.
Okay, thank you. So we had a great meeting last night. It lasted 2.5 hours. So we covered a lot. I had originally invited Lynn Clark, who's the clerk with Public Works, who normally takes my phone calls of when I report illegal dumping or emails, and she couldn't make it. So we were able to get the assistant manager or director of Public Works or maintenance department.
Got her boss's boss's boss.
He was great, and he came with a lot of information. Let me just put in the chat here. We have, aside from calling Lynn to report your illegal dumping, which a lot of us do. I'm going to put that number in here too, to report it. That we have another way, 1-800-NO-DUMPING, and now there's a mobile citizen app that apparently is making it easy for people to report all kinds of things, dumping and potholes and any other kinds of problems that might be going on. So that was good to know. One of the big problems that we have here is because of the areas. So, you know, we've got El Sobrante, we've got Richmond, we've got Caltrans properties and things like that. So there seems to be some confusion on who's responsible for what. Although I think the county has been pretty receptive to most of our things anyway. But mostly down San Pablo Dam Road up to El Portal, the county will generally deal with those kinds of pickups. And then beyond that, towards the freeway is the city of San Pablo or Caltrans, like that field next to that freeway. When you get off the freeway, it's that's Caltrans. We were surprised to know, but a group of us from next door did a major cleanup there on the 27th of December. And then some of us came back, Adrian, who's on the call too, was there, went back to finish cleaning it up, to just make it look nice so that our entrance to our town is welcoming, even though it's not El Sobrante, but it's so important to keep those areas clean as well. But there, apparently you can look on Google Maps and different things to see who's responsible for what. But the links I put up there are related to the county. And they're keeping logs of everything. So they're trying to keep track of where the major areas are that are problematic. Let's see. So Chris Lau gave us a little bit more of a review on what they're doing. They formed an ad hoc committee that they're working at the countywide level and also in conjunction with other regions, concentrating on educating citizens and prevention and cleanup and enforcement I'm not sure if that, most of that seems to be still in a reviewing stage. I'm not sure how much they're implementing, although they have some pilot program for setting out some cameras in different areas, but we're not that far along with that. We're a little disappointed that there's not much happening in terms of enforcement of illegal dumping. And that's related to resources and the fact you pretty much have to, and priorities and how much money this county has to, when they've got other problems, they're not going to be spending a lot of money enforcing it. Code enforcements and things like that. However, some people came up with some good ideas that maybe there's other ways of dealing with some of these problems, like a vector control, possibly, if there's like these dumps and these multi-complex apartments, that maybe there's a way of dealing with that. So we're still kind of trying to work out what we should do. But we have formed there's two groups now that are actually taking action and picking up litter on our own because we can't stand it anymore. And one of them is the Green Team that's been around for a little while, part of the Citizens for a Greener El Sobrante, who are sponsored by the city of, what is it called? The Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce, thank you. The Chamber of Commerce is sponsored and have provided grabbers and gloves and bags and some carts and things like that. So they've got resources. Now they've teamed up with this group that we formed, and Adrian on the call is also one of the admins of that group called, on Nextdoor, it's called the El Sobrante Neighborhood Cleanup. And we're joining forces and hopefully getting more people out there, because we now have 95 members on Nextdoor who are interested in being a part of the solution of the problems of the littering and the dumping that we have going on here. And we have our next cleanup is going to be this Saturday, and we're meeting at the corner of, by the Sinclair, by Ed's bar, the parking lot there. And we're going to start at 10 o'clock and see how much we can clean up the litter from Valley View all the way down to downtown Appian Way. So I'm excited about that. I'm hoping we're going to get a good turnout, and you're all invited to join us. And we will have, grabbers available and equipment. So you could just bring yourself and friends and wear your mask and come and join us, because it really is making a difference. So I'm excited about that. And we've decided that we want to do little mini clean. We want to do this once a month, at least once a month, and cover different parts of El Sobrante. And some of us want to do little mini cleanups in between that once a month cleanup. And that would be good. Just like, spend an hour, get like 3 or 4 people to, if you see an area that's looking problematic. And, most of the problem areas that we've noticed are down San Pablo Dam Road, Valley View, Appian Way near the high school, Castro Ranch Road, and places like that. And so we did one last month that was a major cleanup, and had lots of bags and all kinds of stuff, bags of trash that we picked up. But we also want to form a public education component of what we're doing, to try to raise the consciousness, among starting at the young ages, hopefully get some kind of like awareness campaign going on in schools. When I was a kid, there were those campaigns. There are major PSAs and resources, don't be a litter bug, and telling people how much, the fines are and different things like that. And there was probably more enforcement of it in those days. But now, you know, I don't know if they're getting that message, but we're trying to figure out, we have created and, you know, we have a website now, a website presence on the Contra Costa County, El Sobrante part of the, maybe James can put in the link in there to that page that we have that has resources like this little flyer that we've distributed in the past that has information on how to report it, that we have the right to have mattresses picked up and bulky items and things like that. That's all on that page, and you can copy it or distribute it or send it around. But we need more visibility, and we're thinking about maybe, you know, getting businesses to put up a poster on what people can do. Although I don't know how much people are going actually to these businesses right now. But ultimately, we'll get it more out there. And we want a way of communicating with the apartment owners and business owners to just try to keep their areas cleaner somehow. And we also would like more pickups in the downtown of the trash, so that, you know, the litter makes it into a can that's actually picked up. That would be a nice thing to have, and more of that. And we'd like to have, you know, there's a lot of us citizen volunteers who are willing to pick up trash in between or, you know, near our homes or on San Pablo Dam Road. But sometimes it's overwhelming and we don't really have enough, you know, space in our personal garbage cans. So we're trying to figure out how can we deal with that. And then somebody came up with an idea that maybe we should, you know, let people know that people can get like 15 bags of trash a year picked up from Republic for free. That maybe we should make it known or ask our neighbors, you know, if we do a cleanup, could you pick it up? However, the good news is that in general, the county will pick up these bags if we do that. And so, you know, it's just the beginning. If you're interested, please join us on Saturday. And I don't know if Adrian had something you wanted to add to what happened at that meeting last night, since you were there, or Chris.
Well, nothing, you know, additional that you haven't already, you know, mentioned, but I was thinking as well on SPDR, there's a TLC church relatively close to La Honda road, and you know, that seems to be also very problematic area when it comes to litter. A lot of people just park on the side of the road, and then, you know, it looks pretty bad, you know, what comes to litter. It's just scattered all over the place. And I'm not sure if those are church attendees or just people from across the street, tenants and visitors of those multi-complex, whatever, apartment buildings. So either way, but that's you know, quite problematic area.
Okay, well, I have a question for James. Would it be cool or kosher for us to write as the committee from El Sobrante on illegal dumping? Can we write letters to any of these problematic areas, or like the manager of like Davila, you know, apartments over there, that, you know, we've noticed that there's a big problem, you know, like a lot of littering around your area. Could you please take more responsibility for cleaning it up? Is there something we could do on that level to communicate?
So I'll have to check with John. You know, ultimately we all report to him on this. So okay. I will find out. Most of the letters that come from the MAC are about planning applications. There have not been any letters from the MAC directly to any businesses. So I'll get a sense of that from him.
Okay.
And I'll let you know.
And it would be also great if maybe in the next blast out from, you know, John Joya's office, maybe letting them know about this web page with the different resources on it, about the illegal dumping and how people can report or something like that. That would be supportive of our public education component that we want to do to raise awareness. Ultimately, we're thinking maybe we can get some signs made, maybe have an art contest or something like that with signs to, you know, bring up the awareness about this is our neighborhood, let's keep it beautiful, don't be a litter bug or whatever we want to say, something like that. You know, like that would be nice. And Chris Lau said that it might be possible to put something on some public lands like that, as long as they're not obstructive to our, you know, the vision, you know, to the driving and complies with everything. But that's pretty much it on my report.
Chris, you got a question, Conrad?
Yeah, I did, and thanks for everybody who was involved with my hand down now. Okay, yeah. All these different things we've been doing. It's been really rewarding to see what's been going on. One of the things I wanted to mention here is that we're wind up doing some really heavy duty cleanup when we go. We think, you know, we say we're going to go out to some litter, and then the next thing you know, like we're pulling out an old stove and TV sets and all sorts of heavy duty stuff from these areas, and it's almost kind of hard to know how far down to go to stop, you know, once you start going down to the hillside there, because people are throwing a lot of stuff down there pretty deep. The county's been doing a good job of picking up on it. And one of the things is there's a lot of overlapping jurisdictions, but I think there's kind of a seems to me, just as more of an observer of what's going on in a certain sense, that I'm not one of the people doing the calling and so forth, but it seems like there's a real willingness to cooperate amongst the different parts and jurisdictions around here, which is that is really makes me optimistic. And also when you see the amount of pride and community and so forth that people are expressing, and like we were doing one place and a guy pulled over and gave us a pizza because he said he didn't have time to join us, but you know he wanted to support us and so forth. And people are honking their horns at things like that. It's really, I think there's when you see the number of people that are signing up on these lists and you get the enthusiasm that we've had for what we've been doing, I think we're actually in a pretty good position moving forward from here. The problem becomes that it keeps coming back. The litter keeps coming back. But once we get some of this heavier duty stuff out, at least it'd be more of a superficial task of getting it. And hopefully we don't have to continue pulling out washing machines and stuff from the hillside.
One thing I wanted
to mention is that you know, we've been talking about fire issues and so forth, and along some of these areas we've been doing cleanup, there's a lot of wood debris and stuff like that. That on the one hand it seems like it's good, you know, nature falling to the ground and so forth. On the other hand, I'm a little concerned about some of the fire possibilities, and it occurs to me maybe some of that stuff could be chipped and just put down the hill in chips, where it'd be better off for the hillside, and you know, because we make the additional mulch to the top of the hillside, and also I think it would reduce fire hazards and so forth. And I just thought of this right now, so I'm not putting this out as a plan or anything like that, but it's just something I've been noticing, how much wood there is on the hillsides from trees falling in and getting broken down and stuff like that. Thank you.
One thing that was a little bit discouraging was, you know, some of these areas like on San Pablo Dam Road, leaving El Sobrante going down, you know, towards Orinda, it's become really very littered. And some of us would like to clean it up and do it, but it's also dangerous for us to do that. And I don't think that they're going to be providing, you know, like the safety for us to do that. I mean,
but I said last night, and I've said to you before, the county doesn't provide that. No Adopt a Road program provides that. So I know you may be disappointed, but it's that way everywhere. They're not going to allocate somebody who makes $200,000 a year to come stand on the side of the road. You know, that doesn't work. And in every Adopt a Road program's training, they tell you have to have people with vests on and flags, someone to just monitor the traffic. And that's, you know, that's how the program works. We're not going to ever get the sheriff or somebody out there to.
I understand that. Yeah. So you're saying that the best way.
Did somebody mute?
I think this is Joseph. He just came on. Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that the best route to deal with this would be to form and adopt a road and then provide our own security around.
I'm saying if you do the adopt a road, you will have to provide your own security. It's part of the program. You will have to.
Okay.
Yep. The part of the training, you won't have a choice.
Okay, but then we could do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And the other thing, I don't know, I wanted to, like down the road, thinking big, I was thinking that, like maybe there can be some kind of an initiative to, tag on to any kind of infrastructure bill that comes along in Congress, some money for a conservation corps to pick up, to hire people to take care of these roads, to clean up our towns, to give give homeless people jobs like they have in Marin County. There is a downtown streets clean team that is paying people. I'm not sure, I think it's a public-private partnership that's dealing with something on that level, that's providing money for them to do that. But that's thinking big, and I know that that's beyond the scope of our little subcommittee here. But anyway, you're all welcome to join us. I think we're going to have our next meeting in 2 months, official meeting, and we're going to aim for every other month with this subcommittee, and possibly have like a monthly meeting at least with Next Door and the Green Team, because we want to get more aggressive, with our cleanups so that we can stay on top of the problem. So,
okay.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Mickey. That was a really great, comprehensive report. And thanks so much for your leadership on that and moving this forward. So does anybody have any questions for Mickey? If there are no questions for Mickey, are there any announcements, James?
None that I have. And I guess
Okay.
the one thing I was going to say, I was going to wait, but there's no need to. East Bay Mud, we've been trying to get them, December and this month, but the plan now is for them to come in February and to discuss the rate increases. So I definitely encourage everyone to tune in and find out about why our bills are going to be going up a little bit. So yeah, just tune in for that.
Okay, and then in terms of agenda items, sometime in a couple of months, a vaccination status report. But are there any agenda items that you can think of, James, or other members of the board? Okay.
Nothing comes to mind, but if there's something comes up, email me. And, we have a couple of weeks before I have to have the agenda ready for next month. So if you think of something, somebody wants to come out, let me know. Okay, well, in that case, thank you everybody for being part of our meeting. And Emily, welcome again. And I guess we can adjourn. I appreciate the short meeting, you all. Today's my birthday, so I'm going to go home and make dinner and
what?
and go to sleep.
Well,
happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday to
Happy
you.
birthday to you!
I saved it for the end of the meeting.
Happy birthday.
Have a happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday to you!
Happy birthday to you.
I mean, I think we just gotta.
And many
I think we
more.
gotta tell James that he's done an amazing job, and we really rely on him. And he's super accomplished for somebody in his early 20s.
Whoa! In my early 20s? Oh, I wish a whole 36 today.
Congratulations.
Thank you. One of the teenagers that I mentor, he let me know at 7 o'clock this morning. He woke me up out of my sleep. Old man. Said, you give it 20 years, 36 won't seem all that old. When you're 17, 36 sounds old. You wait till you get here. Thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
Yeah, you do. Thank you, James. You're doing a wonderful job.
Cake just for
I
you.
appreciate you all so much. Thank you. I look forward to having a meeting in person and hopefully this year get to talk to each other in person again.
Okay. Well, good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Bye.
Take care.
See you Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to try to be there, Mickey.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to try to come too.
Excellent.
Oh, great. And then, Emily, you and I can talk opera.
Woohoo. All right. Thanks.
Right on.
That's how when I saw that choker, I knew there was
I haven't met you yet.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.